So you're watching the news unfold like the rest of us, and you see two black men die at the hands of police officers. And I'm just wondering how you relate that to your own experience.
Unfortunately, it's a sad reality that anytime I go out or any of my friends go out, we have that potential of being abused, assaulted, or killed by the police. We know that it's not as frequent in Toronto or in Canada. However, that's probably due to the population. There's lower amounts of African Canadians than there are African Americans in states. So we see disproportionately that may be why we don't see as much. But it's scary. You feel like a second-class citizen. I was born in Toronto. I love Canada. I feel like there's so much opportunity here. But just as other people have said, when you have interactions like that with people who are supposed to protect you and provide support, you feel like you have no hope. There's no one to turn to. So it's really scary when someone is accosted by police.
Can you tell me about your specific experience with the ride-along program? What happened there? Why were you denied?
Unfortunately, I was denied because I have been targeted and stopped over the years. In 2008, specifically, I remember a time where I was driving young people home that I mentor from a studio session. And unfortunately, they have criminal records. We were stopped in a snowstorm for no reason. I was asked questions, and then they started asking the passengers questions. And I said, hold on, you can't ask them anything. They're not driving. We know our rights. Yet the young men were so scared of the police because of their history of being abused by them living in Ontario housing and other areas that they said, Knia, stop, don't worry, we'll answer their questions. They ended up providing their information, and now when I asked for my ride-along, just like my other colleagues have, which they all got, I was denied because the unit commander said, I associate with people with criminal records.
You know, when you hear about stories like yours and what you experienced, and other men of color who have similar experiences with the police, sort of guilty by association or guilty because of color, what do you think that does to a person, to their psyche, to their sense of well-being, of confidence?
It definitely puts them in a hopeless state, and probably they limit their options. They say, well, I can't go be a policeman, for instance. I can't go be a security guard. I can't travel out in the street in broad daylight because they feel, oh, if the cops see me, they're harass me and stop me. It changes your psyche and it limits your opportunities. And I really want to point out that it's not just African Canadians, because across Canada, it's the Indigenous population that gets targeted by police in the same way. So it's those racial differences. Whenever you have people of the police force, unfortunately, when the majority of them are one demographic, sometimes it plays out into a disadvantage for the others.
Now, you have put in a claim against the Human Rights Tribunal against the Toronto Police. I want to know what exactly you're claiming and where does that stand at this point?
The reason why I put the claim forward is because I asked for an explanation as why I was denied. My professors actually wrote a letter and asked to speak with them and said, this is a great student of ours, we'd like to find a resolution to this. And then I eventually, again, spoke to the actual person who made the decision. So we made 3 separate attempts, and even the students, led by Dean Collette, a colleague of mine, wrote a letter to the police saying, this is unacceptable. No response came back on those issues, and I was still denied by the unit commander. So at that point, it was like, what else can I do? And the only thing is to put a human rights complaint and send a message. If there's some sort of decision by the tribunal that says this is wrong, this is discriminatory, and there's some sort of financial penalty, the police may really think about what they do. They should have really met with me and said, you know what, we have no reason to deny this person.
I have to end the conversation soon, but I do want to ask you, when you hear people here in Canada saying, it's not our problem, we don't have the kinds of problems between police and people of color that they have in the US, what do you say to them?
That's because they're not victims of it. Anybody who's a victim of it knows it's very similar, and being caught on a late night by police is not a good feeling.